Greetings everyone. Welcome to Rao's IAS Mains Question Analysis Series of 2019. In today's session, we'll be discussing a mains question which was asked in 2019 examination. The text of the question is coastal sand mining, whether legal or illegal, possesses one of the biggest threat to our environment. Analyze the impact of sand mining along the Indian coast, citing specific examples. Now, as far as this question is concerned, this was asked in GS paper 3. As it is clearly indicated, this is part of environment. This question was of 10 marks, and by this understanding, we know that we were expected to answer this question in 150 words. In this context, it is important for us to understand that this type of topic have been repeated very regularly. However, there were recent triggers which basically directed the UPSC to ask such type of a question from the UPSC aspirants. So we'll be discussing about what was the trigger, how we could have prepared for that, and how various tools of Rao's IAS have helped you in understanding this topic clearly. So let's begin. Let us first understand the trigger for the question. United Nations Environment Programme published a report on sand mining, and this was covered in the Focus magazine, which is published by Rao's IAS in the June 2019. At the same time, there were many news of sand mining and its environmental impact. Globally, around 40 to 50 billion tons of sand is produced, and this makes it the largest mining industry of the world. At the same time, India is bestowed with around 7,500 kilometers of coastline and about 100 major and minor rivers. We have been doing sand mining on a consistent basis, but at the same time, this sand mining has emerged as an environmental threat, and this is why this has become such an important thing. In this article, which was covered in the Focus magazine, it clearly highlights what are the impacts of illegal sand mining. At the same time, it talks about what are the hindrances in effective governance of sand mining. It is important here to highlight that UNEP report also focused on the issue of governance. This article further talks about the possible solution for the situation. It talks about reducing consumption, using recycled alternative material, and implementing existing standards and best practices. So, in this way, this topic was covered in detail in the Focus magazine. This topic was also covered in the Prelims Compass, which dealt with the topic of environment, ecology, and biodiversity. On the page number 124, you can see that it talks about sand mining, then it talks about the feature of the framework, and it goes on to talk about the significance of sustainable sand mining. So, in this way, you can see that this topic has been comprehensively covered by the various tools which are provided by Rao's IAS Study Circle. Now, let's focus on the question itself and the kind of approach that was required to answer the question. Now, in order to answer this question, we need an approach which can direct us towards the right answer. In this context, it is important for us to understand what is the impact of illegal sand mining. At the same time, as a serious civil service aspirant, you must pay attention to the simple fact that why UPSC has asked this question. One of the triggers that we have already discussed is that UNEP published its report which related to the sand mining. Another very significant aspect is that the states of Tamil Nadu and Karnataka have imported sand from Malaysia and other countries. Now, in this context, it was covered in the news. At the same time, there were many news which covered about the illegal sand mining. Now, when we talk about the problems of sand mining, we need to focus on few simple aspects. The most important and significant aspect that we need to focus upon is the biodiversity degradation. Biodiversity reserves are very important for the environmental sustainability of our country. At the same time, these areas are targeted by various legal and illegal sand miners, and this basically leads to biodiversity degradation in those areas. Now, this is a very important and significant aspect that must be highlighted in this question as well. The second important aspect on which we should focus upon is stream degradation. Now, in-stream mining lowers the stream bottom and which may lead to bank erosion. This leads to depletion of sand in the stream bed and along the coastal areas, which causes deepening of rivers and estuaries. This in turn leads to the enlargement of river mouths and coastal inlets. And this may also lead to saline water intrusion from nearby sea. This has been seen in the mangrove forest of Sundarbans. Next important aspect that actually should catch our attention is the pollution itself. Now, when we extract sand from the riverbed, it basically changes the pH level. It also causes instability in riverbanks, which leads to increased flood frequency and intensity, which in turn lowers the water aquifers. This further increases the intensity of drought occurrence and its severity. So, in this fashion, mining is a significant cause for pollution. Another very big problem that is related to sand mining is water depletion itself. As the sand is mined continuously, this transforms riverbeds into large and deep pits only. As a result, the groundwater table drops, leaving the drinking water wells on the embankment of these rivers dry. So, water depletion is also caused by sand mining. Now, at the same time, there are other issues which are also important from the perspective of sand mining. First and foremost is safety of workers, since many of these operations are illegal in nature and can be considered dangerous for the safety and security of the workers. So, this is another very important aspect that we need to focus upon. And tourism is also badly affected by the problem of sand mining, as it leads to the destruction of many beaches and other areas. In this context, these are the major problems of the sand mining. Now let us focus on a suggested approach which can help you in getting better marks in the examination. The question reads, coastal sand mining, whether legal or illegal, possesses one of the biggest threat to our environment. Analyze the impact of sand mining along Indian coast, citing specific examples. Now, when we are answering this question, we need to focus upon the specific examples. These will be the defining element for any good answers. Now, for providing the structure to the answer and also for giving clarity to you, we have defined this answer into three separate parts. First is introduction, second is body, and third is conclusion. At the same time, it is not necessary for you to highlight introduction, body, and conclusion specifically. This is done just to ensure that you get the right perspective which is required for answering the question correctly in the examination. Now, first focus about the introduction part. In the introduction of the question, we have focused on the definition of sand mining. Sand mining is the extraction of sand through open pit or via mining of inland dunes from ocean, rivers beds, and beaches. At the same time, it highlights the purpose of such activity. Sand is an important component of construction activity, and rapid urbanization is causing huge demand supply gap, and this has led to unscientific sand mining. So, in this sense, we have defined why this question has been asked and why this is an environmental threat that needs to be addressed as soon as possible. The second important aspect is we are highlighting how sand mining has negatively impacted. Now, when we're talking about this question, this focuses on Indian coast. Now, when we talk about Indian coast, it basically is drained by rivers as well. So, we need to focus on both the river action as well as the action on the coast. In this context, we'll be focusing on river biodiversity such as Gangetic dolphin and gharial, and this leads to destruction in aquatic and riparian habitat through the change in the channel morphology. And once the channel morphology is changed, this will change the coast morphology as well. Second important aspect is to highlight the examples. In this case, we can see that we have talked about the biodiversity and the change included. In this case, Gangetic dolphin and gharial have been highlighted. In the second point, we have focused on river bank and beds. Now, when we focus upon that, we can actually highlight this causes flooding and change in the river course that has happened in the Kerala floods. And when you change the course of the rivers or the flooding pattern, this is also instrumental in changing the Indian coast. So, this again is highlighted. Third important aspect is shrinking of river delta. As we have already highlighted in the example of Sundarbans, mining is responsible for the drop of sediment level in the rivers. For example, in Ganga, Brahmaputra, and Meghna Delta has led to the destruction of mangrove forest, and this also changes the topography of Indian coast. Marine ecosystem is also influenced by the increased turbidity of water, which is caused by mining of sand, and this is harmful for organisms like corals that need sunlight. And we have clearly identified the examples like Gulf of Mannar and Gulf of Kutch, where coral population is affected by sand mining as well. Last but not the least, we have highlighted the destruction of beaches, which is causing the loss to the coastal ecosystem. Now, in conclusion, we are highlighting the kind of solution that we can seek for this kind of a problem. We have highlighted about manufactured sand and import of sand. Moreover, there is a need to generate popular public opinion on the matter to bring about an end to this menace. So, this can be your structure of the answer where you clearly define what is you are introducing or what is the topic you are highlighting. Second important aspect is what all can be included in the body, and which includes the direct and indirect references along with example. And last but not the least, how we can actually move further in this process by making this entire thing more environmentally sustainable. For this purpose, manufactured sand, import of sand, and informing the public has been highlighted. So, in this fashion, you can see that when you are answering a question which is of 150 words only, you have to be very meticulous in choosing the right set of words, understanding the question, and reflecting the information according to the need of the question. We hope that these kinds of discussion help you in understanding the problem in your approach and fine tune your approach for the examination. From the entire team of Rouse IS, we wish you all the very best.